The final moments are usually silent, sometimes in a hospital bed, at other times in their own home, surrounded by loved ones, or even in solitude. The physical functions cease, the heart stops beating, the breath, which came and went effortlessly throughout life, exhales its last. Yet, what many don't grasp is that precisely at this instant, something profound continues, something unseen and deep within. The soul, that very essence of consciousness that inhabited the body, begins its journey of separation. This isn't a sudden, abrupt shift, like flipping a switch. It's more akin to the slow unraveling of an ancient knot, woven tight with years of experiences, feelings, memories, and decisions. At this critical juncture, accounts of near-death experiences offer a glimpse into what transpires. Individuals pronounced clinically deceased for brief periods often recount similar sensations: a feeling of sudden lightness and unexpected tranquility, and a distinct sense of leaving their physical form. Some describe observing their own body from above, as if suspended near the ceiling. Others report hearing voices around them, but being unable to communicate. Consciousness persists, aware and alive, but detached from its earthly vessel. The parting of soul and body is also an energetic phenomenon. Spiritual wisdom suggests a connection to the physical form via threads, known in certain traditions as the silver cord. This cord, linking the material body to the spiritual one, gradually thins until it severs, signifying the definitive end of the connection to matter. However, not every soul detaches with ease. In instances of sudden violent deaths, or for individuals deeply bound to material existence, the separation can be bewildering and even painful. A profound shock. The soul may attempt to linger, bewildered as to why no one responds, why its pleas are ignored. It's comparable to waking from a vivid dream, only to find oneself in an entirely different reality. From an emotional perspective, the impact is immense. Picture someone who spent their entire life believing death was the absolute end, only to suddenly find themselves conscious, floating above their own body, hearing cries, sensing vibrations, yet incapable of interaction. This marks the dawn of a new cycle, but one without a guide or clear path. For those more spiritually prepared, this moment is one of acceptance. The soul comprehends what is unfolding. It senses the presence of guides, spiritual companions, and luminous beings who arrive to offer support. There's a gentle, almost motherly embrace, a hand extended from beyond. And if you're still here, diving deep with me, let's make it official. You've got 5 seconds to like the video and subscribe to my channel. Comment 100% if you're done. Let's keep this journey going. Everything commences with that final breath, but the true ending, contrary to widespread belief, is merely a fresh beginning. The soul is set free, certainly, but it carries with it every lived experience, the joys, the sorrows, the lessons learned. It departs the body, but it doesn't leave empty. What occurs next is what we'll start to uncover here. Imagine awakening in a familiar setting, yet everything feels alien. Colors appear altered. Sounds seem to emanate from both inside and outside simultaneously. And the people around you act as if you're invisible. You scream, try to touch them, but nothing happens. It's like being present and unseen all at once. For many souls, this is how the awakening on the subtle plane begins. Immediately following the detachment from the physical body, consciousness doesn't fade. On the contrary, it remains, sometimes more acutely aware than ever. The challenge lies in the soul, not always recognizing that it has died. This leads to deep disorientation. It perceives that something is different, but doesn't quite grasp what. This confusion arises because the soul still retains vestiges of its physical life. It identifies as the same self as before, holding the same thoughts, fears, and memories. Consequently, it often attempts to resume its routine, returning home, speaking to its children, completing unfinished tasks. But nothing responds to its touch anymore. Doors won't open, words go unheard. People remain unresponsive. This generates an intense feeling of isolation and anguish. Some souls may linger for days or weeks, hovering near their bodies, particularly when death is sudden and traumatic. accidents, heart attacks, or worse. The shock is so profound that the spirit requires time to comprehend its new reality. It's like emerging from a coma, but with no one present to explain your whereabouts or what transpired. Certain spiritual traditions, such as Spiritism, teach that this initial period after death can be crucial for the soul's subsequent journey. If it remains excessively attached to materiality, to suffering, or to an unfulfilled purpose, it may become temporarily trapped in what they term the lower plane or earth crust, an in-between state where human emotions still weigh heavily, yet without a body to act upon them. At this juncture, spiritual connections become pivotal. If the soul cultivated a life of self-awareness, faith, or benevolent actions, it tends to receive swift assistance. Spiritual guides appear, beings of light draw near, aiding in the transition. However, if the soul lived detached from such connections, the process might be slower, more solitary. Nevertheless, it is never truly abandoned. It may simply take a little longer to perceive the guiding signs. Interestingly, some individuals in terminal stages report seeing departed loved ones in their final days. These visitations, often dismissed as hallucinations, could actually be the soul's initial encounters with the subtle plane, a form of pre-awakening where it begins to feel the call from the other side. It's also common in the first hours after death for the soul to observe what's happening with its body, the movements of paramedics, the families weeping, the arrival of friends. All of this contributes to the initial confusion. The soul witnesses everything, feels everything, but is no longer part of the world in the way it once was. This rupture with reality is frequently difficult to accept. The earthly clock continues its relentless ticking, yet, on the other side, time adopts a different quality. Still, for numerous spiritual traditions, from Kardecist Spiritism to Tibetan Buddhism, including esoteric Hindu currents, the first 7 days form a transitional arc, an energetic corridor where the soul remains intimately close to material reality. Following the initial shock of being outside the body, the soul tends to seek out familiar anchors. Some spirits opt to remain there, by the bedside or in the hospital room, observing doctors completing paperwork, nurses tending to equipment. Others follow their family members, hovering above cars en route to funeral homes or cemeteries. The urgency they once felt is gone, yet they carry an internal drive. They need to comprehend what has just happened to them, and simultaneously desire reassurance that their loved ones will be all right. In this symbolic interval, the wake assumes dual significance. For the living, it's an opportunity to bid farewell, share recollections, and offer mutual solace. For the soul, it's the last chance to witness, almost from the front row, the impact of their departure. Each tear observed, every word of gratitude, every smile broken by longing, shapes the departed's understanding of the legacy they left behind. It's not uncommon for mediums or sensitive individuals to describe sensing a gentle breeze, a chill on the neck, or a sweet presence moving amidst the floral tributes. These are indications that the soul is present, navigating this human ritual to which it belonged until recently. It perceives scents, hears conversations, sees photographs displayed on the casket. All this aids in cementing the realization that its earthly cycle has concluded, a vital step allowing it to move forward. During these 7 days, the soul still vibrates at a frequency very close to matter. This explains why the emotions of the living act, like energetic currents, they can gently propel it towards more luminous dimensions, or, conversely, anchor it to the dense crust of unresolved grievances. Harsh cries of despair and declarations of denial, "I can't live without you," project waves that bind, disorient, and impede its release. Sincere prayers, loving memories, and serene acceptance, however, act like small beacons, illuminating the path. Many cultures observe the 7th day with masses, services, incense-burning rituals, or simple gatherings to share stories. Spiritually, this is believed to be a magnetic closure. The energetic residues still connecting the soul to its former dwelling begin to dissipate. If the soul has managed to accept death, felt supported, and comprehended its new condition, its vibration elevates, and a portal, described as a tunnel of light, a silver bridge, or a blue mist gate, opens, inviting it to advance. Yet, the process is not strictly mathematical. There are reports of spirits who traverse this stage within mere hours, while others, overwhelmed by attachment, linger for months. This 7 functions less as a rigid deadline and more as an archetype. It evokes the universal concept of a completed cycle, akin to the moon's phases or a musical scale. Once this cycle is fulfilled, the soul possesses the minimal conditions to distance itself from Earth's dense frequency and enter more subtle transitional realms. For those who remain, the awareness that their departed loved one can still perceive their vibrations profoundly alters the grieving process. Transforming pain into gratitude, recounting stories that celebrate achievements, praying, or simply sending love telepathically, tangibly contributes to the peace of the departed. For those contemplating their own mortality, understanding this 7-day corridor inspires living with fewer emotional loose ends, cultivating forgiveness, and building connections instead of barriers, all of which will ease their own transition when the time comes. Following the initial 7 days, marked by the soul's strong presence near the physical plane, a quieter yet equally profound phase commences, the 40 days of farewell. It is during this interval that the soul genuinely begins to sever its ties to material existence and enters a process encompassing review, healing, and liberation. This concept of 40 days appears in various traditions. In Christianity, for instance, Jesus is said to have remained among the living for 40 days after his resurrection, before ascending to heaven. In Spiritism, this cycle is viewed as a period of energetic purification. In Tibetan Buddhism, the bardo, the intermediate state between lives, can also extend for this duration. This correlation is no coincidence. The number 40 carries a universal symbolism of transformation and transition. During these 40 days, the soul undergoes a process similar to opening an old book and meticulously reviewing every page of the life just completed. The objective is not external judgment. No one appears with a gavel or scales to pronounce it good or bad. It's more of an internal introspection. The soul relives its choices, its emotions, the intentions behind each action. But a crucial distinction exists here. It experiences what it caused in others. If it inflicted pain in life, it now re-experiences that moment from the perspective of the one who suffered. If it loved, it feels that love again, with all the emotion it stirred in the other. This is one of the most impactful processes in the afterlife, to profoundly grasp the effect of one's own actions, whether positive or negative, as if finally seeing the echo left in every heart touched. At this stage, it's common for the soul to be accompanied by luminous beings, known in many spiritual paths as spiritual mentors. Their role is not to accuse or commend, but to assist. They reveal alternative paths that could have been taken. They help the soul comprehend why certain sufferings occurred, and, most importantly, to learn from them. The past cannot be altered, but much can be learned from it. And that learning is the key to genuine detachment, from guilt, from resentment, from the idealizations that still bind the soul to its previous existence. Throughout these 40 days, the soul's connections to material attachments, home, possessions, career, addictions, people, begin to loosen. This doesn't imply forgetting those it loved. On the contrary, it recognizes those bonds in their purest form, free from the ego's illusions and the minor grievances that so often distort love on earth. However, to advance, letting go is essential. Many spirits at this point suffer upon witnessing family members clinging to them, inconsolable, attempting to energetically hold onto them through constant thoughts of pain, vows never to forget, promises not to move on. The soul feels this, and no matter how much love is present, this type of attachment weighs like chains on the feet of someone who needs to progress. It is also during this time that dreams involving the deceased become more vivid. The soul may approach loved ones to convey signs, messages, or simply a final glance. These dreams feel intensely real, full of emotion, and often they are indeed encounters, a means for the soul to bring closure, soothe hearts, and seek permission to depart. At the conclusion of the 40 days, a kind of final energetic release occurs. The soul, now lighter, more aware of its journey, feels prepared to enter more subtle dimensions. It bids farewell to Earth, but carries with it the true bonds, the loves that transcend physical presence, the lessons learned, and the essence of what it truly was. For the living, this moment can manifest in unexpected ways. A sudden sense of peace in the chest, a feeling that the departed are now truly at rest, or even symbolic occurrences like a familiar scent appearing unexpectedly, a specific song playing at an unusual moment, or a butterfly landing in an improbable spot. Subtle hints marking the beginning of the true departure. One of the most astonishing realizations for many is that even after the physical body's demise, the connection between the departed and those who remain continues to be active and profoundly influential. In this delicate period, especially during the initial months after disincarnation, the emotions of the living strongly reverberate in the soul's spiritual journey. It might seem an overstatement at first, but consider this. When we are alive and emotionally connected to someone, we can often sense when that person is unwell, even without a single word being spoken. Now, envision that connection without the filter of the physical body, without the barrier of ordinary senses. That is precisely what transpires on the spiritual plane. Emotions become direct energetic waves that reach the soul with pure intensity. As previously mentioned, grief is a natural process. The pain of loss, the tears, the longing, all are integral parts of the human farewell. However, the problem arises when that love transforms into desperate attachment, when the bereaved consciously or unconsciously insists on keeping the deceased bound to their pain. Phrases like, "I can't live without you," "Why did you leave me?" or "Come back to me," carry such intense emotional weight that they act like spiritual chains. The soul, having already begun its journey, feels that bond pulling it back, and, often out of love, it returns. It lingers nearby, attempts to comfort, tries to explain itself. But in doing so, it also becomes confused, delaying its own progress. There are accounts of spirits remaining bound for months, even years, to their loved ones, not out of malice, but from a sense of responsibility. They feel they cannot leave while those they cherish are still in emotional turmoil. This can lead to mutual suffering. The soul cannot ascend, and the living cannot heal. This doesn't imply forgetting. Quite the contrary. It means honoring the presence that person had in your life without tethering their memory to pain. True love never dissolves. It merely transforms. And when the soul finally feels free to move on, it can then visit you, inspire you, and bring you peace, because the space for that now exists. There comes a point, following the process of detachment and life review, when the soul finds itself presented with a choice, or, in some instances, an irresistible pull. And if you're still
This is the
here,
moment diving
spiritual
deep with me.
gateways open.
Let's make it official.
Inviting
You've
the
got
newly
5 seconds
liberated
to like the
consciousness
video
to
and
continue
subscribe
its
to
journey.
my channel.
But where does it lead? Is there a fixed destination? A heaven and
Comment
hell?
100%
a resting
if
place?
you're done.
Let's
A
keep
new
this journey
world?
going. The answer is less rigid than older doctrines often portrayed, yet infinitely richer. The soul's destination is not a physical location, but a vibrational reflection of what it cultivated internally throughout its existence. Spiritual portals are, in essence, passages of frequency. Some souls enter this new plane guided by spiritual beings. Others feel an inner beacon, the call to move forward. There are also those who, even freed from the body, remain confused or stuck, unable to access any portal, usually due to dense emotions like guilt, fear, revenge, or extreme attachment. These portals can lead to a multitude of different destinations. One of the most widely known descriptions of these destinations originates from the spiritist literature of Chico Xavier. In books like No Solar, Our Home, psychographed by the spirit André Louise, true spiritual colonies are depicted. Organized cities with buildings, hospitals, libraries, gardens, schools, and study centers, where spirits undergo phases of healing, learning, and preparation for new experiences. Various mediums from different countries report similar accounts. These are high vibrational environments, accessible to souls who, despite imperfections, lived with dignity, ethics, and a desire for growth. Within them, the soul is welcomed, cared for, and gradually reconnected with its deeper spiritual essence. Beyond the colonies, there exist what are generally termed astral planes. These levels of existence lack fixed divisions, but rather consist of vibrational layers, The higher the soul's frequency, the more luminous these planes become. In these realms, time flows differently. Matter is more malleable. Thoughts manifest realities and experiences are intensely symbolic. In denser planes, conversely, there are zones of confusion, suffering, and emotional entrapment. Some refer to these as the threshold, others as the valley of shadows. Many perceive it as punishment, but it is more a direct reflection of unresolved mental and emotional states. Not every soul proceeds directly to a colony or a specific plane. Many traverse transitional zones, places for observation, waiting, or initial assessment. Think of it like a hospital triage room, where the soul is received by mentors, undergoes vibrational evaluations, and prepares for its next destination. It is in these spaces that many are reunited with already deceased family members, old spiritual guides, or even entities who accompanied their lives unnoticed. Ultimately, does the soul choose its destination? Yes and no. The soul doesn't make a choice as if selecting a hotel from a catalog, but rather is drawn to where its vibration leads. However, souls with greater spiritual awareness, who engaged in inner work during life, possess more clarity at the moment of transition. They sense the opening portals, perceive the invitations, and recognize the paths. This clarity allows them to choose more freely, and for their journey to continue with less resistance. After traversing the spiritual portals and arriving at its vibrational destination, the soul enters a new phase, spiritual treatment and re-education. It is here that it begins to profoundly comprehend everything it experienced, everything it felt, and everything it still needs to evolve. But above all, this is where it finds healing. Because yes, the soul also carries wounds. Even freed from the physical body, it may carry emotional pain, old traumas, deep regrets, burdens that were not resolved through death. And contrary to popular belief, disincarnation does not erase everything and provide a fresh start because consciousness persists as itself. One of the soul's initial experiences in the subtle worlds is the welcoming into spaces dedicated to energetic and emotional healing. In many traditions, these places are described as luminous, serene rooms where specialized entities act with love and wisdom. There, the soul finds rest, literally. Some spirits sleep for days, weeks, or even earthly months. A deep restorative sleep is necessary to reorganize their energetic structure. It's a decompression period, much like a diver surfacing from deep waters who needs to ascend gradually to avoid the bends. Others undergo more active treatments. They receive magnetic passes, are enveloped in subtle vibrations, or participate in listening and clarification sessions with spiritual mentors. All of this with a singular goal, to restore the being's balance. Following the rest phase, the soul is invited to expand its consciousness, and this occurs through learning, not theoretical, cold knowledge, but a living, applied wisdom. Are there schools on the subtle planes? Yes, schools. But here, the teaching is different. Learning doesn't come solely from books, but from experiences, vibrational simulations, and shared insights among spirits of varying levels. The soul revisits past errors, but now with clarity. It understands the impact of emotions. It learns about universal laws like cause and effect, vibrational resonance, and universal love. And perhaps most importantly, it begins to understand who it is beyond the ego. Liberated from titles, names, appearance, and nationality, the soul discovers itself as pure essence, and that alone is a form of healing. As it gains strength, the soul starts preparing for the next step. And no, this doesn't necessarily mean immediate reincarnation. Many possibilities exist. Some souls choose to remain longer on the subtle planes, deepening their learning, assisting other transitioning consciousnesses, or developing in specific areas. They become agents of the spiritual realm, engaging in missions of support, rescue, or inspiration among the living. Others, upon understanding what they still need to develop, decide to return to matter for a new incarnation. This decision is not made impulsively. It's a conscious process, discussed with guides, precisely adjusted. Every detail of the future existence is planned. The family environment, challenges, gifts, the encounters and departures that will serve as triggers for evolution. Some might be wondering, can the soul visit Earth? Yes, the soul can. and in fact, it does so more frequently than we imagine. This isn't about reincarnation yet. We're discussing spiritual visits here, moments when the disincarnated soul temporarily returns to Earth to observe, comfort, bid farewell, protect, or simply be near those it loves. And these visits happen in ways so subtle they often go unnoticed. Other times, they are so powerful that there's no doubt of their presence. The ways the soul can manifest among the living vary, depending on the spirit's evolution, its emotional connection to those here, and the purpose of the visit. This is one of the most common and impactful forms. Anyone who has experienced loss has likely dreamed of that person in such a vivid, lifelike way that upon waking, it feels as if the encounter truly happened, and often it did. These are not ordinary dreams. They are astral plane meetings, made possible by the release of the physical body during sleep. The soul of the incarnated individual meets the soul of the disincarnated one. We exchange glances, hugs, unsaid words, and return with a lighter heart, as if something has been resolved. These dreams often feature striking details, vivid colors, physical sensations, clear messages. We wake up saying, "It wasn't just a dream, I know they were here," and that intuition is correct. Sometimes the soul doesn't manifest visually, but leaves traces. A familiar scent appears out of nowhere. A song with perfectly fitting lyrics suddenly plays. An object falls inexplicably. A gentle breeze is felt during a moment of deep sadness. These are soft touches, indications that someone is near. Such manifestations are more frequent when the soul senses a need for support. It comes, observes, comforts. While it may not always interfere directly, its mere presence brings solace and strength. In rarer instances, typically involving mediums or naturally sensitive individuals, the soul may appear in an almost visible form. A silhouette, a light in the room, an image at the bedside, or sometimes a voice. This is uncommon, and not every soul has the permission or ability to manifest in this way. There are situations in which the soul, especially if it already functions as a guide or protector, may directly intervene in the incarnated person's life, preventing an accident, inspiring a decision, or gently nudging a change of course. The person experiences a premonition, a strong intuition, an invisible hand guiding them, and that is precisely what it is. How can we facilitate these encounters? Keeping the heart open is the first step. Being at peace with the departure, accepting the life cycle, and cultivating positive feelings creates a safe bridge between the planes. Sincere prayers help, as does remembering the person with joy, speaking to them affectionately, even without expecting a reply. Most importantly, avoid obsessive waiting. Spiritual visits do not occur on command. The soul appears when the time is right and only when it won't harm itself or those still here. This is why letting go is essential. Loving without demanding, allowing the higher planes to lead. And it's remarkable how, even after someone leaves, we begin to perceive life with new eyes. We feel more, we value more. We realize that everything that truly matters cannot be seen but felt, and that the vibration we live with influences not only our own journey, but also that of those we love, both here and on the other side. It is at this moment that many people awaken to something fundamental, the responsibility we hold for our own energy. Every thought, every emotion, every act of gratitude or love, all of it builds a bridge between realities. It's no coincidence that so many evolved souls can visit their loved ones with ease. They vibrate at a high frequency, and the living, who maintain a clean, light, and conscious energetic field, sense this connection because they are in tune. Throughout this first year after disincarnation, there are moments considered vibrational portals, recognized across various traditions as openings between worlds. The seventh day, as we've seen, marks the initial major energetic release. The 40th day signifies the culmination of the detachment cycle from matter. And the first death anniversary is regarded as a complete closure, a spiritual harvest of what was sown in life and during the transition. When a year has elapsed since a soul's departure, something changes energetically and spiritually. It's as if a circle finally closes, enabling that consciousness to move forward with greater lightness. And for those remaining on Earth, it's a time to transform grief into serene remembrance, At this juncture, most souls are already situated in their new stage, redirected to another plane, engaged in new spiritual missions, or perhaps preparing for a fresh earthly journey. For the living, the first death anniversary need not be solely marked by longing. It can also be a celebration of life's continuity in another form, a moment to look upward or inward and recognize that everything, absolutely everything, is part of a grander cycle.
If you're ready to unlock even deeper truths about the universe, click on the next video. Your journey is just beginning.